Okay, I am having a fun day with this today because I've been doing this a lot and you guys probably won't see this. But I'm Corey at AlexanderWest. I play on PS4, Star Trek Online. I play mainly Torpedo builds, and this is why I'm making this video because on PS4 we never had really a PS4 focused Torpedo build discussion, and I'm going to do that today. My experience, I've been playing the game since 2011 on PC and later transferred onto PS4 as it came out. I play exclusively Torpedo builds just because I like them. I like the challenge of them, I like the micromanage of them, and I like the theory crafting to them. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to take the anniversary ship, the Kittimer, which I just got today, and I'm going to go over a build centered around that ship, and at the same time try to explain some information, some knowledge for people that are maybe interested in torpedo builds. Moving forward, let's go to the ship. It's 5 weapons fore, 3 weapons aft. First thing you'll notice when you look at this, you'll see there's an energy weapon on the end and only 4 torpedoes in the front. Why am I running the energy weapon on front for a torpedo build? Simply because of cooldowns. Your cooldowns will go, you'll fire your first torpedo, second torpedo, third torpedo, fourth torpedo. By the time you get that 4th torpedo goes off, your first torpedo should be going off. So if you put a 5th torpedo in there, you'll probably hardly ever get to it. So you're probably more likely to throw an energy weapon up there just to keep it going. I run the Terran as my energy weapon just because I run the Terran console, which will give me the 13% projectile weapon damage. That being said, let's move on and go over what I'm running with. First torpedo I'm running with, the Delphic Distortion Torpedo. This is a Lobi torpedo. It comes from the Lobi store for 200 Lobi. Anything that I say is Lobi is going to be 200 Lobi, unless it's a ship, which is going to be 900 Lobi. If it's a trait, it's going to be 450 Lobi. Traits and ships are probably cheaper in the long run to get off the exchange, unless you're purposely hunting through a lockbox for something specific. Then you'll get Lobi lots of times. Delphic Distortion Torpedo is a very heavy-hitting torpedo. Great. It puts on a debuff onto your targets. Yeah, it puts a resistance rate, so I tend to put it up first. It has a 33% chance. It's a 1/3 chance of doing a damage resistance debuff on your targets for 10 seconds, so it's best to have that go out first so your other torpedoes will benefit from it. Moving on from that, we have the Neutronic Torpedo Launcher. This comes from the Delta rep. It is a very good torpedo, hits very hard, works great, gets boosted by quantum boosts as well as projectile boosts. So if you're running the pure quantum build and you're using quantum consoles, you'll get a good benefit from that. Third on the list, we have the Enhanced Biomolecular Proton Torpedo Launcher. This thing is probably one of the more heavy-hitting torpedoes in the game, and it is great to have. You get it from the 8472 Counter Command rep. Its radiation damage cannot be boosted by anything but its console, that's partner console. So if you have the partner console, you can run it, and we don't get a boost on that. Other than that, the base damage will get affected by torpedo boosts and photon damage because it's considered the photon torpedo. Moving back to the Neutronic Torpedo, the reason that I run it second is because it's great when you got things clumped up, because it will do 3 kilometers from the target, it will do radiation damage and do a debuff. After that, we have the Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo. This torpedo, again, quantum hits very hard, has a long cooldown, which is why I put it on the far end, so that way it will recharge faster. Again, it does damage over time. Tick, I believe. Yeah, does fixed physical damage every second for 20 seconds, so that does a damage over time as well. I've already talked about the Jesus Christ, the Terran cannon and why I use it. Just go straight to the 4 weapons. I have the Modulating Competition Mine on the back. This comes from the competitive rep. It's quantum damage. It gets boosted by projectile and quantum damage. If you are running the quantum build, you can run the 3 set for a huge boost in quantum projectile damage. The main thing I run this for is because when you put it out, the longer it's out, the more damage you'll do when it finally explodes. The other 2 weapons at the back are my morphogenic Polaron energy weapons, Torpedo and Omni Beam. I run that along with the tactical console for the 3 set bonus, which is whenever I fire off a cannon ability, I get a 10% crit severity bonus, and anytime I fire off a beam enhancement, I get a 2% critical chance. These stack up 3 times, so I get 6% and 30% respectively. If you're constantly in combat, you're constantly firing those off, you'll constantly have that up. So that's more crit chance, more crit severity, and that is kind of king right now as far as DPS. Moving on to the devices, we have the kinetic amplifier, which is the 30% projectile damage for 20 seconds. You get this from the projectile research and development tree. I think by level 15 you can start building it, and if you fully max out, you can pretty much almost guarantee a crit on that, which will get you more than 5 at a time. After that, we have the reactive armor catalyst. That is a heal device I have. Some people like to use instead the subspace field modulator for the damage resistance buff and the defense rating, which is fine. I prefer to have an actual heal on there. On top of that, I use the deuterium surplus. Again, people might swap that out for the... Why do I have 2 red matter capacitors? Anyways, moving on. Subfield modulator, I use this over that personally because it's essentially like having a second evasive maneuvers and frees up a duty officer slot on my active duty officer lineup, so I can fly additional abilities and opens up my options. Moving on to what's on the ship, shield wise and everything. Some people would go directly for the Mako set for the 2-piece, the 25% torpedo damage and the extra auxiliary power, and the hull regeneration. Don't get me wrong, if you reforge the Mako shield, it's definitely a damn good shield. But because I want to use a certain deflector and impulse engine, and because they don't have a Mako warp core, I tend to go with the temporal set instead, shield and warp core, which gives me the 25% all damage over time, which synergizes well with the dark matter torpedo and the wither and damage from the Terran weapons. My deflector is the elite intervention protomatter deflector, which you get from the fleet colony. I get that for the shield penetration, and of course every colony deflector has the crit chance and crit severity on it. The only deflector in the game that does have that at the moment. For my impulse engines, I watch the Prevalent Integrated Impulse Engines, which are the tactical boost version of the colony of the competitive impulse engine. So basically, every time you fire off a fire-in mode, that includes torpedo spreads, torpedo high yields, weapon fire, mine drops, whatever, you'll get a boost in defense and a boost in flight speed and turn rate, and also your tactical officer abilities will go down as well. Faster tactical abilities, faster damage, more damage equals things die faster, and less chance of you dying from them. On to consoles. Of course, we have the Terran console from the Terran rep, the Fluoro-Fluid Hydraulic Assembly, which gives us the reduce of half a second on shared torpedo recharge time, which means your torpedoes will get up faster. The 2 set will give us a 13% projectile weapon damage boost, which is great. Moving on from that, I have the Neuro Infusion circuits. Again, this is the Lobi console. I run it for the 26% crit severity. We have the assimilated module, which comes from the Omega rep. This has crit chance and crit severity, which is great. This, I actually, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to switch this out because I actually don't like this. Let's throw that on instead. Let's throw this on instead. comes from the Lobby store as well. This is the console that goes along with the Delphic Torpedo, which with the 2 set will give me a bonus in crit severity and crit chance. And I get a boost in exotic damage if I'm running an exotic build, and I get improved speed and turn rate. Faster ship, all the better. Gets me in place better. Moving on from that, we have the Domino Universal Console. I can't remember where this comes from. I think it comes from the Ryzen Corvette. Don't quote me on that. I run it for the active ability. Basically, the active ability every 2 minutes for 10 seconds, I will get 25% all damage and a faster torpedo recharge rate. This also gets boosted to 2 seconds every time you kill something. So it can probably stay up for another 20 seconds. So it could probably be up for a good 30 seconds if you want to. And it recharges every 2 minutes, so it's down from 1.5 minutes up for 30 seconds if you kill things fast enough. Moving on, we have the Tychonectic Converter. This is pretty much like an assimilated module that gives you a boost in control expertise. It's 200 lobby. Get it. It's good. Again, the Rule 62 multi-purpose combat console. This gives me a close to 20% boost in mine and torpedo damage. That's why it's on there. The boost in power transfer rate is okay to have, and the drain expertise is great as well. It's a good all-around console if you are running torpedo boots. Other than that, there are better options out there. Tactical-wise, we have the Lorca's custom fire controls. This gives me crit chance off the bat, as well as a shit ton of like shield penetration. Because I'm running the Dark Battle Torpedo, I get the 2 set bonus, so every time I crit, I will get a 1% crit severity buff up to 25%. If you are constantly in combat and you're constantly doing crits, you can pretty much keep that stacks up for the whole time. Again, the Morphogetic set, 3Ps, I've explained that already. I don't need to explain that anymore. And I round out my last 2 slots with Vulnerability Exploiters for torpedo damage for additional crit severity. If you find that your crit chance is low to your liking, you can definitely replace those with Locators. It's all about personal preference. I find I crit enough as it is. Other options if you want to look into them as well. If you're running the Contra build, you can run a 3-piece competitive. If you feel that it's good, you could probably try to use the Prolonged Engagement Dynamo. Also, if you have access to the NX refit ship, you can pull the console off of that, which is the Point Defense Bombardment Warhead, which is 25% critical damage, 25% projectile damage, with an additional 1% hit chance. Which, by the way, I may, if I do eventually get that someday, if I feel rich, I'll get that. Other than that, there's not really much more I have on that. If you do run the gravimetric or a photon build, you could definitely run the 2 sets to get photon damage and a bit more crit chance. Just looking through here right quick, see if there's anything else I may have missed. Again, if this is working, this goes along with the neutronic. It brings down the cooldown from the neutronic torpedo. This goes along with the quantum phase torpedo. If you're running the quantum build or a drain build, you can put the quantum torpedo up front and run this console along with it. And it will boost the shield heal and the shield drain you get from the quantum torpedo. Moving on to my stations, because we're here, we want to look at them. This ship comes with 2 universal slots, Lieutenant and Ensign. I run my Lieutenant as Tactical and my Ensign as Engineer, and I may swap that around later if I find I need something else. Excuse me. I run Chemosite Lace Weapon G1. That is a debuff with a shit ton of radiation damage after 10 seconds. To foes within 1 kilometer of the target, so if someone's got a good grav well and they puts them all together, you could probably unload a crap ton of torpedoes onto him and do like a crap ton of radiation damage to your target. This is pretty much 100% chance with torpedoes, so it goes hand in hand. Energy weapons will use it as well. I've explained why I use scatter volley and fire at will and why they're there, so we won't go too much into that. Again, attack pattern beta, your weapons will mark a target and put a debuff on them for 5 seconds, and this upgrade lasts for 10 seconds. Torpedo high yield 3, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Onto my science, hazard emitters, just to wipe off hazard debuffs, and also good heal to have. Photonic officer to lower cooldowns, and the concentrate firepower. Concentrate firepower, if you have a ship that has command specialization seeded, run at least 1 concentrate firepower. There's no reason not to have it. If it procs when you have it up, all your torpedoes reset and you can fire them off, and it gives you free high yield 1s to you and your teammates. I would like it if it was just me that took that benefit, because high yields would be more damage for me, but unfortunately Cryptic thought it would be nice to give your friends in your team an option to steal that from you. Emergency powered engines, no reason to have that, just a filler spot for right now. I might, if I think of something better, I'll put it on there. If not, we'll keep it. Structural integrity collapse, physical damage, and a physical and kinetic resistance debuff rating. If you lead with this, it will eventually just rip out the physical damage and make your torpedoes hit harder onto your ship. I also run 2 Ox batteries, just because I'm running an Ox to Bat build. This guy is a placeholder until I can get Let It Go, because I kind of ran out of money, and I'll have to go back to it. I'll probably get this off the exchange. It's about 5 mil off the exchange, 5 to 6 mil, I think. Again, damage resistance debuff. That's why I have it. That's why I love it. Quick look at my base stats if you want to. 25% crit chance, 196 crit severity. That will go up as I upgrade things and everything like that. After that, let's go to my skills. Let's start with my skill tree and why I leveled it. So, as you can see, I'm pretty much hard down the tactical tree. I got this just to have a better chance of getting less of a penalty from distance. Shield hardness is just thrown in there. I don't really pay much attention to shields. Shields tend to get wiped out too fast, and if you spend too much time focusing on them, you just get distracted and eventually die anyway. The hull capacity I got so I can take full benefit of Tyler's duality, impulse, electroflow, hull plating. Yeah, just stuff like that, just to fill it out. You can play around with that. I don't really play around with that too much. Moving on to traits, starship traits. Entwined Tactical Matrices. This comes off of the Zen ship called if I can find it, I lost track of it and I don't know where it went. There it is. No, it isn't. There it is. So it comes off of, if your Federation, you buy the Gagarin Miracle Worker Battlecruiser, level it up, and put it in your dry dock, because you're not going to use it after that ever again. For Klingons, it's the Quack Miracle Worker Battlecruiser, just the Klingon variant. Moving on from that, we have the Weapon System Synergy. Actually, I should explain what Tactical Matrix. You probably read it, but basically, if I do Fire at Will Scatter Volley, I get a free Tactical Torpedo Spread, and vice versa if I run Torpedo Spread. The great thing about this is it's only torpedo spread 1 you get, but they stack and they don't put and you can have more of them. So basically, you fire your first one, you have another one just locked up behind it. So if you run to a cannon spread and a fire at will, scatter fire and fire at will, you get 2 of them automatically. Just remember, if you are queuing it up, fire off your high yield first, so you have a high yield and 2 torpedo spreads back to back. You can actually stack this up to 3 times before you get instance started if you skip the briefing and don't watch the briefing. Weapon synergy. Basically, your energy weapons will boost your projectile weapon damage and your seal penetration of projectile weapons. If you have energy weapons, throw this on here. You get this from the Manticore, if you're Federation. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a lifetime ship that you get when you get a lifetime subscription to the game. Ceaseless momentum. That comes off of, if you're Klingon, it comes off the Naquel Intel Battlecruiser, which is a lockbox ship from the Affinity lockbox. If you're Federation, you'll get it as a lockbox trait. You are pretty much better off buying it off the exchange. It's cheaper for Federation players. Federation players have a lower barrier to entry to get this trait than you Klingon players do. Automated shield alignment. This is the Kittimer trait. I'm playing around with it. I'm not sure how much it's going to affect me or if there's better options out there. If there is, I'll use it. If not, not. On top of that, I'm using highly specialized. So if I fire off my concentrate firepower, I get a boost to my hull restoration, and my recharge time on my concentrate firepower gets a 5% reduction. It gives me some EPG buff, and it gives me a bit of weapon specialization, which is improved crit chance. These 2 I might swap out for something different if I ever get a chance to. I might get highly specialized. Ceaseless momentum, which comes off the Sona Intel Battlecruiser, which is a lockbox ship, comes off the Sona lockbox, I believe. It's going for about 420 million on the exchange right now on PS4. Moving on to my space reputations, we have the Terran Torpedo pre-fire sequence. I run it for the 15.6 torpedo damage. I feel like it's a must-have. It also increases the speed of your destructible torpedoes, so a high yield, gravimetric, and so on and stuff like that. Following that up, I have Omega Kinetic Sheeran, 12% dot. So 12% of your torpedo damage gets applied as a dot onto your target. Over 6 seconds, that in turn gets boosted by your temporal shield and warp core. Tires duality. The higher your hull capacity is, to a maximum of 200,000 hull capacity, will give you a crit chance buff. On top of that, we have targeted systems from the Lacurie rep for 20% crit severity, and precision at 5% crit chance from the Romulan rep. Onto your personal traits, we have kinetic precision. That gets, when you hit level 15 in your research and development for projectile weapons, that is a 10% shield penetration for projectile weapons. Put it on there. It's a must-have if you're running torpedoes. Following that up with another must-have, the superior projectile training, 7.5% projectile weapon damage. Self-explanatory. You have a non-superior version when you first start the game. You will eventually, if you have a fleet that's leveled it up from your K7 deep space fleet station, you can buy it from there. Self-modulating fire. Again, that comes from a lockbox. Comes from the Herald lockbox. Better chances to get it off the exchange again. Lockboxes take forever. Basically, your critical hits will cause your projectiles and energy weapons to have a 50% shield penetration for 10 seconds. Can trigger once every 45 seconds. Moving on, we have Fleet Coordinator. If you're running any type of space queue, just put it on. It's worth having. 2% damage bonus for every member of the team, 10% damage bonus. Tactical Captain's Good Day to Die. Basically, makes your go down fighting a on cooldown buff. Every 45 seconds, you can put go down fighting up. Operative, crit chance, crit severity. Much more to say. Innocuous is more crit severity, plus threat generation reduction. Intense focus, I may swap that out for something different, maybe a hot pursuit if I ever get it, or anything like that. Might put on inspirational leader, maybe. Maybe. Hot pursuit is nice. Yeah, let's put hot pursuit on for the mine. Maybe it'll move faster. Resonate payload modification. Your torpedo warhead payloads are now additionally equipped with electromagnetic resonance. Basically, it's, when your torpedoes hit, they can put a -5 physical kinetic resistance rate, makes your torpedoes hit hotter, stacks up to 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25 reduction. Yeah. Moving on from that. If we go to my endeavors, ooh, I have a perk point to spend. I will spend it here because it's the only one that I feel is worthwhile. Okay, so if you look at that, I have, once you get those up, they'll go up. Just try to get those up as fast as possible. It just makes your life so much easier if you do that. So crit severity will go up, crit chance will go up as I start leveling these out. Moving on from there, we can go on the abilities. L1 will have your device abilities and your ship abilities on them, as well as other devices that are in your inventory, like your Nimbus Distress Call, your Advanced Wave 4 Beacon, Beacon of Kalis, and eventually your Karabashi Maru. Currently, it's a device that you have to equip in order to use, but they are going to patch that out eventually. L2 is going to have your captain abilities, so that's your rep abilities, your specialization abilities, and your innate tactical abilities as a tactical science and so on for captain, as well as your fleet support. Square is your science, triangle is your engineering, and circle will be your tactical and command abilities. Some things to make your life easier, some things you can put on certain cooldowns or have instances where they'll cause them to trigger. Karma Catalyst set to 50%. Don't set it to 25%. Someone told me this, and he makes a very good point. If you have it at 25%, you're at one shot anyway, and you're most likely going to die. Hazard emitters, I set it to 75% health, just because I wanted to go off a lot more and get the damage resistance buff. I set struggle integrity collapse to battleship or higher, so I'm guaranteed to fire that off. Otherwise, I'll fire it off manually. Oxabat I pretty much have on cooldown, and I set burst power images if I get impulse offline. I will set Photonic Officer 10 seconds into battle just to go off at random so I can get additional power, and if I'm still going in combat, it will go off every time after that. I tend to leave my go down fighting on my bar and also set it to 50% health, just so it will go off regardless. That way I can just hit it positively whenever I need it. And that's my domino, and that will put you into combat, which will cause everything else to go off, as you can see. So, things that I suggest you do. When you first get into an instance, skip the briefing, hit your high yield, go into here, start popping these things off as much as you can before your timer goes off. You should be able to get them off 3 times, which gives you 3 stacks of crit and severity and crit chance, and it will also load up a bunch of torpedo spreads into your torpedoes, so you'll have a good solid boost. Like, see, they're already coming right now. If you want to get them out faster, you can probably hit an Oxabat and get them loaded up faster. or even your...
Please state the nature of the emergency.
Look, it's already up. I just hit knocks the bat on the photonic officer, and they're already good to go again. Bam. And this will be up in 5 seconds. Yeah. Things to keep in mind of, if you want to do a good alpha, you can probably get your tactical fleet officer, good team buff, your intelligence fleet. Sometimes tactical fleet puts you into combat. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it doesn't. I haven't figured out what exactly causes that trigger. Vulnerability sweep, if you're tactical, these are tactical abilities that change. You have a science fleet if you're science, and engineering fleet if you're engineering. I tend to set attack pattern alpha to execute whenever possible to 5% buff and a... So if my stacks are fully up and I go into my ship stats, I'll have 36% crit chance and a 256% crit severity. So they will eventually buff it. You'll definitely do more damage. You'll definitely get more crit, and you'll have a higher chance of crit. Something I forgot to go into is my specializations. Let's go into those. I skipped those, I am sorry. I run my primary as intel for the flanking bonuses, and strategy is a strategist for the crit buffs on them, because I think... Yeah. So I'm only do for diversionary tactics, which will again reduce bridge offer charge time and all that stuff. If you don't want to use intelligence officer, you could definitely try command officer. That has a lot of synergization with torpedo damage and all that stuff, and also a lot of crit damage stuff as well. But intelligence is great, especially if you get really good at flanking. Practice your piloting, practice your flanking, try to get behind people as much as possible. You'll do a lot more damage. If you're doing EPG or a sciencey build, I suggest switching your primary to temporal operative instead for the EPG bonuses and the damage over time bonuses. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. The main thing I suggest is when you're flying, realize how your ship moves, how its inertia moves, and when you come out, so what you gotta do, how you gotta drift. You're gonna have to learn the drift. Get behind your target, get those abilities off, going, fire those torpedoes like crazy. Other than that, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions and you see me online, I'll be online mostly as Cory, K-O-R-Y, at AlexanderWest. I run a Nova Corp, so if you're in the Nova Corp Armada, you'll definitely see me in there talking around. I'm usually the guy talking torpedoes. I try to be sociable as much as I can. I like talking theory, I like answering questions, and I like discussing things. So if you feel you can give me some information or you want to get some information off me, definitely contact me. I have no problem with that. Other than that, that's pretty much how it goes. Invite me to teams. Message me first, please, though. If you give me a random invite, I will just instantly reject it. Other than that, you guys have a great night.